Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Before we get started with this, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. What we're going to be analyzing today is Zohran Mamdani in a number of clips ending with his victory speech. Now, I want you to keep in mind, the goal of this video is to analyze whether or not he's someone who tells the truth, whether or not he's authentic. And my goal in these videos is to be politically neutral. I want to tell you exactly what I see in the body language. All right, let's just jump right in. What we're starting with are clips from the debates. I want you to see some important body language so we can compare it to his victory speech.
Good evening. Thank you to the moderators, and thank you to New Yorkers for tuning in. I know you'd rather be watching the Knicks.
This smile right here is something he is very, very good at. Now, we call this a douche-in smile. You see his eyes are wrinkled. You see the way that the corners of the mouth are up. This appears to be an authentic smile. However, he does this all the time. He does this to mask actual feelings. You can practice body language. You can practice things like this, and he knows that this looks good. So when he does this, people are going to have more trust in him. When we see people, we tend to reflect what we're seeing. So doing what appears to be an authentic smile, actually smiling with his eyes as well, is very, very effective.
Thank you to the moderators, and thank you to New Yorkers for tuning in. I know you'd rather be watching the Knicks. While there are 3 candidates on this stage,
You see how quickly the smile goes away. That goes to show that it is not authentic. Now, it's nothing unusual for a politician to do a fake smile, but he does this smile all the time, and it truly is going to be used to hide actual emotions. But that works positively in his favor when people are watching him because it makes them want to smile. For some people, it makes them feel good. So we're going to go to a part where that's more relevant, but I just wanted to give you a really good shot of what that smile looks like.
Recently, several prominent New York rabbis took the unusual step of denouncing your candidacy, including the rabbi of the Park Avenue Synagogue in Manhattan and Rabbi Michael Miller, the longtime leader of the Jewish Community Relations Council, who was a friend to many of us. Do you have any regrets about how you've dealt with these issues, and will your longstanding views on the subject get in the way of your ability to be an effective mayor?
I look forward to being a mayor for every single person that calls this city home. Not just those who voted for me in the Democratic primary, not just those that vote for me.
Now, right now, you can see his blink rate is extremely high. So this is a subject that is stressing him out.
And that includes Jewish New Yorkers who may have concerns or opposition to the positions that I've shared about Israel and Palestine. You know, just a few weeks ago, I was on the M57, the slowest bus in New York City.
Now, as he's starting to tell this story, you see him closing his eyes. I was on the M57, the slowest bus in the city. That eye close suggests there's something that is really making him feel uncomfortable about saying this. So I do wonder if what he's about to say is in fact deceptive. Watch this.
You know, just a few weeks ago, I was on the M57, the slowest bus in New York City. And as I was seated there, there was a speech therapist who was sitting next to me. She told me that she was Jewish.
All right, now you're seeing the blink rate pick up a ton. Now, when we lie and when we're deceptive, we tend to feel very uncomfortable about it. And right now, as he's telling this story, his blink rate is off the charts. I do not think that what he's saying is in fact true. This is a clear sign of what we typically associate with deception.
And as I was seated there, there was a speech therapist who was sitting next to me. She told me that she was Jewish. She said that her daughter was a huge fan, but that she was not yet decided on who she was going to vote for. And she shared to me about her fears in this city.
You also see that there's only one hand exposed right now. We try to hide when we are being deceptive. Typically, he's somebody that speaks with both hands. He's only talking with one hand right now. There's part of him that wants to remain hidden. He doesn't want to entirely be seen as he's talking about this. So I do think that this story is very possibly just entirely made up.
And she shared to me about her fears in this city, about rising anti-Semitism. And I told her what I will tell New Yorkers today, which is that I will be the mayor who doesn't just protect Jewish New Yorkers, but also celebrates and cherishes them, who doesn't just increase funding to hate crime prevention programs by 800%, who doesn't just ensure that the NYPD are outside of synagogues and temples on the high.
So I think that what he said was a lie. You could see the blink rate was just staggering throughout. There were a number of signs that suggested that that story, in fact, was not true. He's using it as a way to talk about politics. Politicians do that. It's not shocking, but it also means that this is not somebody who is being authentic at all times.
Holy days, but also actually delivers on the implementation of the Hidden Voices curriculum in our school system so that children in this city learn about the beauty and the breadth of the Jewish experience right here in the 5 boroughs.
You could also see he wasn't raising his eyebrows as he was talking about that at all. He's someone that raises his eyebrows a lot, brings attention to your face when he's really feeling strongly about something. So to him, this is a talking point. This is not something he feels. It's just something he is saying.
Okay, I've got a different.
Yeah, but can I just comment on that, please? Not everything is a TikTok video. You're the savior of the Jewish people. You won't denounce globalize the Intifada, which means kill Jews. There's unprecedented.
Now, this is the most concerning thing he's done. You see, as this is being said, as Andrew Cuomo is challenging him, he's standing very, very still. When we feel there's danger, we sit still. When we feel strongly about something, we can't help but show some body language. If we're disagreeing with what's being said, we tend to shake our heads vigorously until we get a chance to talk. He is sitting still, just waiting for this to pass.
Fear in New York. It was not several rabbis, Errol. It was 650 rabbis who signed the letter, not several.
Let me.
Excuse me, Mr. Cuomo.
You could hear Andrew Cuomo saying, "Will you denounce globalized intifada?" At that point, Zohran Mamdani actually looks away, is looking at Sliwa as he's talking, completely trying to avoid this. We see no body language acknowledging what is being said by Andrew Cuomo. Have you ever Googled your own name or email address? Before I had Aura, I did, and wow, it was my full name, my old address, phone number, all sorts of information I did not want people to have. That's why I started using Aura, today's sponsor. If you've ever wondered how scammers get your number or why your inbox is drowning in spam, this is why. They're companies called data brokers that collect and sell your personal information to marketers, scammers, and yes, even stalkers. They do it without your permission. The good news is they're legally required to remove it if you ask. The only issue is that it's time-consuming and they make it as confusing as humanly possible. This is where Aura comes in. They take care of the hard part for you, automatically requesting removals from these data broker sites and keeping your info off of them over time. In the first 2 weeks, you'll see exactly where your personal data is exposed and start watching it disappear without you lifting a finger. It's an all-in-one digital security tool that gives you alerts if your personal info appears on the dark web, real-time fraud alerts for crediting and banking, 24/7 identity monitoring, a secure VPN, antivirus, password manager, and more, plus a $5 million identity theft insurance policy and US-based fraud experts available around the clock. You can try Aura free for 14 days at aura.com/Dr. G. That's enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your info off all of these data broker sites automatically. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. Go to aura.com/Dr. G and get started with your 14-day trial today. All right, back to the analysis. Now we're going to watch Mamdani talk about his aunt not wearing a hijab after 9/11. Now, what we know is that this was in fact not true. What we're going to be looking at is whether or not he knew this wasn't true or whether or not this was a genuine mistake, whether or not he accidentally said the wrong person. Let's just jump right in.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt.
We're seeing that really fast blink rate again. Once again, that suggests stress, not sadness. So I want you to keep that in mind. And this, the touching of the lips. Now, sometimes that's authentic. When we're sad, we tend to stroke our lips. This looks a lot more performative.
Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
So you could hear his voice wavering, but there's some other issues here. I want you to check this out.
Taking the subway.
Now, what we're not seeing is any actual emotion on the face. No sadness in the eyebrows, which is the first place it shows up. It's almost impossible not to show some sadness there if we are almost brought to tears. We're seeing nothing. We're hearing a wavering voice, but we're not seeing anything in the face.
After September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
So similar to the story that he told during the debate, I think that this was intentionally deceptive.
Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
This is not saying that that didn't happen to a number of people or there aren't real feelings about this for a lot of people. I just don't think that Zohran Mamdani has real feelings about this right here, and I think that this story was performative. Now we're going to watch a very brief clip from Meet the Press where Zohran Mamdani was asked about globalized intifada.
So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will...
So clearly he sidestepped that answer. We're going to go through this a little bit, but I want you to watch his eyebrows right here.
Globalize the intifada.
That's not language that I...
That's not language that I use. That's what he wants you to hear. He just wants you to listen to that. Doesn't mean he doesn't necessarily believe it, but it's not language he uses.
I use, the language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation.
Now, there comes the smile again. Once again, he's somebody that smiles to mask how he actually feels. So watch this right here.
Grounded in a belief in universal human rights.
So when he smiles, those are the areas where you need to really pay attention because he uses those to mask his actual feelings. I know I'm just showing a few clips here, but if you watch a lot of him talking, if you watch him throughout a lot of different interviews and whatnot, this is very, very consistent.
And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's...
Now, see, listen to how he talks at the very end here. Listen to the way he says this.
To all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you...
So instead of saying it applies to Israelis and Palestinians alike, he says is alike or something. It kind of comes out as a little bit of gibberish. And that's because when you get in the really strong feeling part of your brain, the logic part gets a little bit more challenged. Speaking fluidly gets a little bit harder. So this is something that he feels probably very anxious about right now, but clearly we're hearing him stumble a little bit based on this subject.
Things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado.
Once again, he's tripping up on his words because I think that he knows how important this is. And he is threading this needle fine. He's not really being pushed on it so hard, but he is absolutely sidestepping precisely what he is being asked.
In Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker...
See, and this is just a classic political move. Now bring up something else that people can get mad about. Forget what question you asked. Get mad because Donald Trump did this or something to that effect.
In jail, who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will...
And this is some very tricky wordplay. Globalizing the intifada versus anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is about prejudice. Globalizing intifada is about murder. Like, it is two totally different things. You cannot compare the two. So as he talks about this, he's really still not answering the question in any way, shape, or form. Now we're going to watch a few clips from his acceptance speech after he was elected mayor.
Mandate for change. A mandate for a new kind of politics. A mandate for a city we can afford. And a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that.
So I know he's giving a loud speech, so it's hard to sound very nice doing it. But right now what we're hearing is aggression. He sounds angry. We're seeing a certain amount of tension in his forehead that also appears to be angry.
I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City. And that is because of you.
What's so interesting is that the smiles even here don't appear authentic. They're back to the performative smiles. You'd think this would be something that might feel good, but it's so much of it is about performance. This is not an authentic smile. We're going to skip around a little bit. I just want to show you some of the interesting body language. Much of it's repetitive, but there are a few points that stand out.
To every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for one of my opponents, or felt too disappointed by politics to vote at all, thank you for the opportunity to prove myself worthy of your trust.
We're seeing his eyebrows twitch in this way, which suggests anger. For some reason, this speech seems to have a lot of anger in it. It's very interesting.
For the opportunity to prove myself worthy of your trust.
I will wake each morning with a singular purpose: to make this city better for you than it was the day before. There are many who thought this day would never come, who feared that we would be condemned only to a future of less, with every election consigning us simply to more of the same.
You notice a lot of the language he uses. Like I said, I've skipped over a lot of it, but talking about condemning us to a world of less. Earlier, he was talking about all the injuries and scars people have from all the work they've done. This is really focused on riling people up. It's not a message of hope. It's a message of how much pain you're in. So I think this gives us some idea of how his messaging will likely continue after this, but we'll keep going.
Anyone else with their back against the wall, your struggle is ours too. And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism. Where the more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong. Not just in the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power. No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election.
Once again, now you're seeing real anger come out. I talked about anger before, but watch this right here.
Where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election.
So you can see the way his mouth is right here. This is a look of disapproval. He looks quite angry right now. You could also see the way that he's breathing. This is something that really is genuinely stirring up real feeling for him.
Who extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
The theme of power has really been very, very dominant throughout this speech.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. When we...
There's that smile again. Anytime he does this, he's essentially trying to cover up another emotion. So it's very consistent. Watch him smile. There's likely another emotion that you could replace with that he's trying to not show you.
When we enter City Hall in 58 days, expectations will be high.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of the behavior and body language that we saw. Now, what I saw over the course of all these various clips was someone who does not appear to be authentic. There were a number of areas that I believe were deception, and there were a lot of emotions that I think were covered by a fake smile. Now, what we saw during his victory speech was a lot of anger. He seems to have a lot of anger. So do I think that you can trust Zohran Mamdani? Well, based on his body language, I would say no. It would be up to you to decide based on his policy and all the other things that he's running on whether or not you think he's trustworthy, but his body language does not suggest that he is someone that is authentic and straightforward. If you have any other thoughts about this, or if there's anything else you want me to analyze, please let me know in the comments below. Last thing before we get finished up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.